answer. So good evening and welcome everyone to our program. As Elizabeth said, I'm Kim Kispert, the program coordinator for the Fairfield County chapter of the Links Incorporated. The Links Incorporated is an international nonprofit women's service organization, and for over 70 years, our members have steadfastly committed to enriching, sustaining, and ensuring the cultural and economic survival of African Americans and other persons of African ancestry. Our local chapter is led by our president, Mrs. Donna Johnson, who I saw get on here a few minutes ago, so welcome, Donna. For over 45 years, our members have served the Fairfield County community with programs in student mentoring, civic engagement, international and cultural perspectives, health, and the arts. Tonight, we are delighted to once again partner with Elizabeth and the Ferguson as we recognize the World Art Day by bringing you this timely panel discussion, Black is the Color, Art in Public Spaces. This past year, as the pandemic forced all of us to reconsider our habits and alter our daily lives, our opportunities to enjoy the arts were hit especially hard. Visits to theaters, galleries, and museums abruptly came to an end. A few organizations like the Ferguson and some individuals found the resources to move programs and exhibits online, while others literally took it outside to the street, as was done here in Stamford last summer with the installation of the Black Lives Matter mural. The film by Jack Goldstein, Black is the Color, provides a very rich foundation for tonight's discussion. In comprehensive detail, that film explores art by Black artists against a backdrop of political history of Blacks in America. As we learned about the artists profiled in that film, we must acknowledge that racism continues to impact our society. As artists, their lived experiences and personal expression illustrate the duality that, back in his time, Du Bois described between artists and their roles as apostles of beauty versus apostles of truth and justice. So tonight we look forward to exploring this duality and a number of other topics raised by the film. Our guests tonight, Mike Baselis, Lauren Clayton, and James Middleton, are next-gen contemporary artists hailing from our community. Last summer, they each brought their vision of beauty, truth, and justice to the public through Stamford's Black Lives Matter mural. But before we hear from them, I'd like to introduce and acknowledge members of the Fairfield County chapter of the Links who have produced this program. First, Colleen Barneswell and Valerie Cooper, both members of our Arts Facet team, who will be monitoring the Zoom chat for your comments and questions, which will be posed to the panelists at the end of the program. And Diane Gellerette, who is the chair of the Arts Facet, who will moderate tonight's discussion. So again, if you'd like to direct comments or questions to the panelists, please post them in the Zoom chat facility. Diane, over to you.
Thanks, Kim. The film, Black is the Color, was released in 2017, and it wraps up its historical perspectives on Black history and art with footage of Black Lives Matter protests, which eerily foreshadows events that swept across America in mid-2020 to the present. So I'd like to start out and ask our panelists, you know, it was a very rough year with the shootings, with Black Lives Matter, with social justice, with the pandemic, everything coming crashing down. How does that affect you, yourself, your art? And I want to start out with Lauren, your perspective on the past year.
Well, thank you everyone first for being here, and thanks for Ferguson Library and the Links for hosting us. This has been for everyone a really challenging year. The start of the year, I think everyone had this really, 2020 vision, really clear coming out of 2019, which for me was personally a strong year, and then just got hit. And admittedly, I would say personally, I was a bit reclusive. I was very much set back by the current environment of our nation, and just was kind of consuming information, watching the news all the time, which I don't normally do, and processing things that were going on as a result of COVID, and obviously as a result to, my fellow African-American community, and what we were being posed to deal with on a moment-by-moment basis, from complex conversations to processing what to do next, what is our role. So for me, the first part of the year was just a bit kind of just in reflection and absorbing what was happening. And then once I felt sort of as if I was confident that I understood even how I felt, I was able to communicate in art and in expression, in conversation with peers and with other members of the community that were now just coming to me in terms of just conversation, and being able to better articulate what it is that I felt, what it is that I felt my role has always been, and our role feels weighted, that it always feels like it is. And thankfully, there's been a really great opportunity through a variety of different facets to express what I was feeling. And of course, I'll have an opportunity to express that a little bit more when I have a chance to go through some of my work. But it was a matter of just absorbing, reflecting, processing, and then being able to come back in and with a bit of a fresher mind to figure out how it was that I was going to move forward. And we're all still taking those baby steps to move forward. So, I think that a conversation like this is part of those steps.
Absolutely. And I think we're all right there with you as we're starting to come out of a little bit of the pandemic. We're taking baby steps. So, Mike, how did you feel over the past year?
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Over the past year, I felt a bit overwhelmed, just realizing that the color of my skin, my hair, my demeanor, my voice, and how I'm perceived in the community or how I'm perceived in society, I'm posed as a threat to individuals. So it was kind of scary for me to kind of like go outside and, try to continue a sense of normalcy, especially with the pandemic, especially with individuals who are opposed to, mask mandates, or opposed to Black Lives Matter, or opposed to, or feel that there is no social injustice in this country. It was kind of scary. It was kind of an overwhelming feeling. It was definitely very challenging for me to create and or be a part of the community, because just in fear for my life or in fear for others around me, because I may pose a threat to some individuals, or God forbid, I could have been killed or shot or whatever the case may be. So this past year has been very difficult. In terms of art, it's just been very stagnant, lackadaisical, if I were to say that, because kind of hard to, really create and again explore and venture out and to see more works because of COVID and restrictions and everything like that. So it's just been a really, really weird year, especially for me being young and me being a very adventurous person. It's kind of been a setback.
Okay. James, how did you feel over the past year?
I definitely agree with the other panelists when they were saying like it was just a lot to take in, and we didn't feel like. Wait, can you guys hear me? Yeah,
yes, we can.
Just felt like I was trapped and felt like I wasn't as important as somebody else just because of the color of my skin and how I look to other people. And it kind of took me out of my creative flow for a little bit. And I just felt like, like, dang, like this is how my country sees me. And this is how they see my people. And this is how they really feel. And it kind of just put me in this mindset to be like, I have to protect mine. I have to protect everything that I know, everything that I love. So it kind of put me in a space where I was more so on the defense, and I felt like I couldn't be myself in a sense. Like, so I gotta protect my family. I can't can't worry about creating right now. I gotta be on guard because anything can happen. Like anything can happen to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it just put me in this like this weird space where I felt like I wasn't myself. Like I was just in this third world country, in this place where I didn't belong, and everything that I knew was just a lie. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I think, everybody was feeling everything that you guys were feeling. Colleen, can you bring up the presentation, the slideshow? And we're going to take a look at our next gen artists and what they have been creating pre-pandemic, and I know they've been working on some additional stuff as we're starting to come out. We're going to start with Mike, and as soon as Colleen brings it up, we'll be going through each one of your works of art, and everybody be really impressed because you guys are really very talented, and everybody will get to see that. Colleen? She's still on? She's going to be bringing it up any moment. There we go. And let's just hit the first one with Mike. There we go.
All right. So again, thank you for joining, everybody. A lot of the works that I create are very much centered around people who look just like me. The skin that I'm in and the demeanor that I have, I very much try to embody those emotions and put them into the pieces that I create. So the first piece that I created, this was during my senior show in college. I went to the University of Hartford, and this is a piece basically having a conversation about myself within myself. The good, the evil, the bad, the good, left, right, whatever the case may be. It's just a conversation between myself trying to figure out how to navigate this crazy world that we live in, honestly. And since I was graduating, I had to figure out how I was going to function, post-graduation, jumping into this adult world and everything like that. The piece to the right, it's from a movie. I don't really like to describe the movie because it's a very traumatic movie, but I create pieces again that depict facial expressions, and I use the eyes a lot for emotions. So these two individuals, you won't know exactly unless you watch the movie. You won't know the conversation that happened before or after, but you'll know in this moment how they feel, and you can see exactly the emotions that are being depicted by the way that I paint, the colors that I use, the tonal applications that I put on the paint in the canvas. Next, please. Again, two more paintings that I used for my solo show. Again, the movie to the left. If you know the movie, you know the movie. If not, it's okay. Again, I just use facial expressions and eye contact, tonal applications to kind of bring about emotions and to kind of embody that with the paintings and the stills that I use. Again, you might not know what have happened before or after this conversation, but in this moment, you can tell he's either looking at him with complete disappointment or approval, or just trying to understand exactly what's going on in his head. Painting to the right, another senior show painting that I did at college pre-COVID. And again, just using the colors that I've known and using techniques from school and using different ways to show the skin that we're all in and to show myself through these paintings. Next, please. So again, the image to the left is pre-COVID. Once again, it's an artist, Playboy Cardi, and again, he looks very similar to me, the same skin color that I'm in, the same locked hair, and I just wanted to kind of embody again color from the skin tone to the jacket that he's wearing to the background, and just show how beautiful we can be in art. And it was tough seeing that going to school and not seeing many of my faces except for Harlem Renaissance and sort of, you know, the Black artists that I was forced to look at in textbooks kind of a thing. They were amazing to look at, but there weren't that many of us. So I want to create works of art that are beautiful enough and show who we are as individuals. Piece to the right, again, another artist, his name is Nas. This is from the movie Belly. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, it's okay. Again, just want to show the demeanor that we have is not one to be threatened by. It's okay. Another painting that I did, this was post-COVID. It's Neg Maon, which is a monument in Haiti. Fun fact, it's one of the only standing monuments that wasn't destroyed from the earthquake. So again, I just wanted to switch up my style a little bit and create works that kind of depicted my culture. So I'm Haitian American. Both of my parents are immigrants from Haiti. And I just wanted to be able to depict something that is close to home to me. So that was a very touching piece that I created. Next, please. Two pieces of work that I created as soon as COVID hit. So that February, March month, 2020, I didn't have a space to create in. We couldn't really go outside. I couldn't get paints and everything like that. Everyone shut down. So the pencils and the papers that I had is what I had to use to create. And this was just me exploring more of the tonal applications again, pushing color, pushing darkness, pushing emotions, pushing the eyes and everything like that to kind of capture that in the moment image on the paper, on the canvas, or whatever the case may be. So this is Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I'm big on basketball. Basketball is big in my family. So it was fun to create these two pieces here. Next, please. Again, image to the left, during COVID kind of a thing, that February, March month of 2020. It's just sad to see that Kobe's passed away now. But again, I created these works just to kind of, you know, show my skills, you know, without having the paints and everything like that. Just pushing tonal application, pushing emotion, pushing shading and shadows and everything like that. Next, please. This is a painting that I have showcasing downtown at Juice Kings. It's Muhammad Ali, again, to kind of show tonal applications, to kind of put my people out there and to kind of embody emotions, but also to kind of bring awareness and everything to things in the community that people can go to. So Juice Kings is a smoothie shop downtown. You can go to it, very much like everything that they have on the menu. And one of the things that they have on the menu is a Muhammad Ali related drink. So I created a work around that, and also just adding the Pan-African colors in the background to kind of show who he was and then show what I stand for as well. Next, please. Image to the right was again in that February, March month. Again, just using what I had, pencil and paper, just to kind of attack those tonal applications. And then the painting to the left is one I recently did. It's a new style that I tried. I kind of focused more. I got new canvases, new brushes, new paints, and just to kind of push more color and to kind of, you know, invoke that emotion that and or the demeanor that Nipsey Hussle was. So the side profile kind of put him in that space where it's just like he is who he is in this space, with the way that his silk jacket is shining and everything like that, the way his hair is braided nicely and his beard is okay, just to kind of put him in that space. And again, it's sad that he had to pass, but I want to be able to kind of invoke who he is in my work. Next, please. Again, doing a lot of the artwork that I do, I want to do it for the community. So this is a wall mural that I have in the Royal Communication Center in downtown Stanford as well. It's a communication center for kids where they can work on their podcast skills, where they can work on their photography skills, their music engineering and everything like that. And this is one half of the artwork necessarily. It's called The Great Wall. So basically Nipsey Hussle's portrait is on there, and it says, speak some things into existence so that they appear. And then everyone kind of speaks their dreams into existence by writing on the left or the right of him and kind of seeing if those goals can be accomplished in the year or 2 years or whatever the case may be. Next, please. Again, more pre-COVID, pre-quarantine works. Again, just tonal applications, trying to invoke emotions to the eyes, trying to invoke emotions through facial expressions, demeanor, and everything like that, focusing a lot on portraits and focusing a lot on Black individuals. So these two are artists slash rappers. The left is Brent Fayez and the right is Roddy Ricch. Music is big on me. If I could listen to music in my sleep, I definitely would. I listen to it as much as possible throughout the day. And it kind of adds on to a lot of the inspiration of the works that I do. Next, please. Image to the left is something that I recently did. I believe it was sort of last month. Just again, switching up my style a little bit, trying to use color to kind of embody and bring about that emotion. Using these warm colors kind of showed this woman that she was powerful, and putting her in that space as large as the canvas is and putting her on that Black background just kind of brought her out more, brought out her eyes, brought out the emotions, and brought out her facial features a lot more. Image to the right, again, I did this in the month of February, March 2020, portrait of DMX and the entourage behind him. It's just sad that he passed the way that he did. I just kind of want to embody the people that I look up to and the people that I, revolve my inspirational cues and everything like that around. He was big in my childhood. He was big musically around the world, and I captured this moment, and I just had to continue on and just bring his legacy more into my work and everything like that. Next, please.
Mike, that was wonderful. Thank you very much for presenting your artwork. It's excellent. But we have our next speaker, artist. It is Lauren Clayton. Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. It's really great to follow on the heels of a great presentation about amazing work. Hello, everyone. My name again is Lauren Clayton. I am an artist and graphic designer based here in Stamford, Connecticut. We can advance beyond my picture slide. Thank you. So my professional, I would say, creative career started when I started my business out of college in 2003. I attended Cooper Union School of Art. This part of my life is really important to the larger story of where I am today. I attended an art school, a school that allowed me to be very creative and kind of, I always make a joke that I was kind of like a creative butterfly, and I could just kind of flutter around the school and draw and paint and kind of figure out where I fit. Graphic design was where I fit best. It felt good. It felt good to organize information, to process the way that my mind worked into design. But I really enjoyed drawing, painting, sculpture, all of the other creative arts. So in 2003, I launched my business, Studio 162. The first image here, image one, is a depiction of a book that I designed for one of my senior projects, which was called I Found, and it is the catalyst for why I started my business. Studio 162, when I first launched it, was just to design heirloom books, which were personal biographies that I did for families, individuals, which told their personal history. And the first book that I designed was of my family. So the very top is my mom, the bottom is my dad on image one, and image 2 and 3 are books that I've done subsequently for other families and good friends and clients. I can sort of interchangeably make them clients and friends, because once you've known someone's personal history, they cross over essentially into this friend zone. So the studio was a really big part, the launch of this business was a really big part of my story too, because I received a business grant from the Miller Brewing Company to start my business. In college, I received a full scholarship and also got aid from the Jackie Robinson Foundation for money towards my school. And I think that's a huge part, because when we'll talk maybe during the Q&A, we'll talk probably a lot about maybe even opportunity. And this was a huge part of what led me to have an amazing opportunity on the heels of having an amazingly supportive family and I think even one of my family members is on, who helped me with my business plan, and Link, Uncle Link, helping me work through my business plan. So, so much of the start of my business was about building something from something that felt emotionally I was connected to, as well as my community, and having the financial support of working hard, and then also getting people that believed in me financially. So if you go to slide 2. Again, I started Studio 162 solely doing the heirloom books, but through time, a lot of those clients were really happy with the work that I did in the book category and capturing their family in this specific design field. But they started to ask me if I design logos, if I design websites, can I do some marketing for their companies? And naturally, my business grew over time to include small businesses and individuals and consultants. And again, it all happened very organically, but then it also, one of the things that I feel very strongly about is it happened also because I was building a community, I was building a network, I was taking my business super seriously because I was, or I am, a Black-owned, female-owned business. And I felt, truthfully, that I was representing for a whole race, a whole gender, and I didn't want to fail in my representation. And so, and also thinking that there was a responsibility that I had by being in this particular position to use this platform to elevate myself, my community, my peers. And that also led me to realizing that if I'm going to be up until like 2 o'clock in the morning designing, I really should be designing with purpose. So this slide here represents what I largely do now. I would say about 60 to 70% of my business in specifically the graphic design field is working with area nonprofits. Image one is the Yearwood Center. This was an organization that I'm sure people from Stanford are well aware of, it's a community hub. And I was invited by Virgil, a board member, to help rebrand the Yearwood Center, and subsequently served on the board of the Yearwood Center, and have since served on a couple of other boards, and just been much more interested in being connected with the community, working for a purpose, doing what I'm doing so that there's also some longevity to the work that I'm doing, that it's not just about me, but it's about other individuals, other community members. So this represents, the slide essentially represents the work that I'm doing now, as well as the work that I've done over the years. Image two here is Journal of Hope, an organization I've worked with during COVID, which is kind of crazy, which helps students be empowered through journaling. 3 and 4 are with the Greenwich International Film Festival, bringing independent films to Greenwich. 5 and 6 are area nonprofit organizations that I've really enjoyed working with. Ableist is an organization I've worked with for a number of years, servicing people with special needs. So again, it just felt like it was a responsibility that I felt, and a need, a thirst, a want to do more than just design. I needed to design with purpose. So I guess we can go to slide 3. So along this journey, my roots are still very much in the fine arts and in drawing and painting and creating. And along my particular journey, I felt that I was spending a fair bit of time giving so much of myself, giving this service, offering design help to nonprofits and small businesses. And I was losing a little bit of my personal voice. I didn't think that I was maybe exploring enough of what it was to be a creator. I was essentially fulfilling someone else's vision. And I can speak about this more articulately now, but then I wasn't really sure what it was. And thankfully, my husband helped to push me and sort of said like, babe, why don't you just start drawing? Why don't you start painting? And I've always had a sketchbook. I've always felt very comfortable in the world of my own private creation, but it was important for me to explore what my voice would be once I was ready to share it with everyone else. And so this slide in particular is deemed drawing as meditation because it was, some of these works here, they're not all current, during this period of time, some of them are current, but it was about exploring my sensibility. I really love drawing women. I really love drawing hair, symbolizing hair with as expression, as an extension of expression. There's a lot of fine nuances in there which tell the story of the individual that it is representing. So it just felt really good to get in touch with what I was interested and what I was seeing maybe in my own mind. So thankfully, over time, I just tried to explore a little bit more and really get a little bit more in tune with what I was interested in tapping into. And through time, I really felt that I was getting, starting to feel good about something, starting to feel like this was, I had a clear voice or a clearer voice. And one of the instrumental moments that happened was I attended Art Basel. This is a big festival in Miami. It's held in other locations, throughout the world, but specifically I went to Art Basel in Miami and my mind was blown. Like I was just like totally inspired. I was just captivated, going from fair to fair and tent to tent filled with artists. And I was it was sensory overload. And when I got back, I had an opportunity to have a show with my husband, who is a producer, as well as my family members, my daughter and my son had some work there. And I just felt a little bit more comfortable in my skin in order to put my fine arts out there into the world. So if you go to the next slide. This comes now to the Black Saints series. In my creation of the works that I was working on, I was still, very much connected in my community. One of my clients, Peter Hopkins, who is an artist and creator, turned into being almost like my art mentor. And he reacted really positively to these drawings I had done of Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and said, hey, Lauren, why don't you explore that as a series? Maybe draw other individuals that have inspired you. And at first I was like a little unsure. I was like, I was really moved to create these particular pieces because, for obvious reasons, they are icons in Black history, but icons in American history. And slide 2 and 3 specifically are mugshots of Rosa and Martin Luther King during the Montgomery bus boycott. And it felt right to create them. So I didn't want to be forcing myself to be creating other ones, but they happened very naturally. And I connected with people and stories, and I admit almost did my own sort of personal art history and sort of tried to research these individuals, listened to speeches, read books, heard their voice, and then tried to capture what I felt I needed and what our community needed to know about them in a drawing. The image 1 is of Miss Angelou, Maya Angelou. 2, Rosa Parks. 3, Martin Luther King. 4, Jackie Robinson. And I obviously specifically drew Jackie Robinson because his legacy was so important in my life. I became a scholar of the Jackie Robinson Foundation, but really what I also gained was a network of other young Black students who were driven and interested and educated and changing things, and just opened me up to a whole spectrum of people that I had not necessarily been connected to prior to that. So it was really exciting to connect through the scholarship program. So Jackie Robinson to me specifically really means, for me also is my creative, my business freedom will ultimately be part of my legacy now. His legacy has turned into part of my legacy because, through his name and his foundation, I've been afforded a lot of great opportunities and have met a network of amazing, amazing people. So if you go to the next slide, please. So thankfully, these, the Black Saints in particular were really well received. My mentor, again, my art mentor, Peter Hopkins, brought me to, or invited me to participate in a show in DC, as well as a show in Miami during Art Basel Week at Art Aqua. And as you can imagine, I went from being a spectator of the art in Miami Art Basel Week to now having my work there during that time. And it was like mind blowing. And also just thinking differently about my art career, thinking about what it meant to be a creator, and also how do I move from just creating one piece into making work approachable to different demographics, different price points. So the original drawings are rather expensive, but maybe I can share that creative conversation at a lower price point. So this slide happens to represent where I was at the end of 2019, start of 2020, when I started to think of art as a way to connect with people beyond just selling one piece. Maybe I could connect with them through a notebook that would inspire someone to draw or paint, or an altar candle, and that they would maybe read while they had a candle of Maya Angelou. So I just started to think a little bit differently about my art making, and on the heels also of being a business owner, and my brain sort of works in income and passive income, and how can I leverage all the work that I'm doing and do more than just one piece and it's gone and only one family gets to enjoy it. Maybe I could be in a position where I am connecting with people and they're really going to be able to, enjoy the work beyond just one piece. So that was, I would say, at the beginning of 2020 is when I started to have my mind around this and sort of gearing up, and also thankfully participating in some really great shows in our particular area in Lower Fairfield County. We have a really strong art presence. I had shows at 22 Haviland Gallery with Dennis and Sidewalk Gallery, and started to build this community and talking about art regularly. And it was just so exciting, really feeling like there was like, the world is my oyster kind of thing. And I'm, now that I'm starting to feel more comfortable in my artistic voice, now I have an opportunity to, to put it out there. So this is where I was, I would say. And then the next slide happened. Thank you. And then, I have mixed feelings about calling last year a difficult year, because I think ultimately it's going to be a year that we remember and pushes our community, our nation, our world forward. But at the start of it, it was just like, wow, just like a slam. Everyone just a slam. And much like Mike, I would say, is at first I wasn't necessarily fully, fully inspired. I was just, as I expressed, I was just absorbing. I was just kind of taking in information. I was, my sister lives in Germany, so I was, we're having regular conversations about what's happening with her overseas, and it was just, it was a lot. And even in Stamford, there were things happening in my own neighborhood, unfortunately, that were questionable with, in terms of, how the police community were interacting with the community at large. And so there's just like a lot going on. And so I was very quiet for a while. I went back to sketchbooks, went back to journaling, went back to something that was very private, not something that was public at all. And really have to shout out Tara Blackwell on this, because image one here on this slide is a invitation that she sent me in a text message to be part of a group exhibition at Beechwood Art Innovations. And she said, hey, Lauren, I'm working on this particular project with Janine at Beechwood, and would you paint this particular a painting with me in response to the Black Lives Matter protests that are going on right now? And I remember at first being like, I don't know what to say. Like, there's so much that I want to say. I don't know if I can say it in just one thing that is going to represent all the things that I wanted to say. And thankfully, you know, that opportunity, as well as participating actually in a protest where we marched from Harbor Point in Stamford up to the police station, where I was a part. This is again during COVID, where everyone's supposed to be at home and not around everybody. But I was around hundreds of people, and everyone was unified, and everyone was calling out, and the crowd was mixed race, and we were chanting. And I remember feeling so electrified and feeling like, you know, maybe I know what to say. And what I felt like saying is I'm a part of the fabric of America. We are woven into this history. It's not just this one off, like it's not this problem. It's not this one, speck. We've been here. We're woven into this. So the first work here is that reaction to it. It's just a portrait of a Black woman, again, hair, I love me some hair, but it's woven into the flag of America. And I just remember feeling more aware about what I was able to say. And a lot of it came down to a bit of like, we're the United States of America, right? We're like united, right? So when I was when I was invited by Jermaine and Carl through Valerie Cooper to participate in the BLM mural, I think by then I was healing and was able to articulate what I felt, and was super excited to be a part of the mural, because I felt like now I know what I want to say. Now I can't wait to like get out into the streets and raise my fist and have these uncomfortable conversations and do the dirty work, because I felt like I was starting to heal. So thankfully through that mural project, which was, for those of you guys who were there, I know that there are some people that I saw as they were logging on were there that day, and it was beautiful. I mean, unfortunately, the work that we were doing was not because of a good thing, but man, like, wow, like the community was together. There were different ages, different races, there was dancing, there was protests, there was, conversations, there was, just everything. It was just really excellent. And even leading up to that, we had several calls with 15 other artists, and building that creative community, also having uncomfortable conversations with that community it was all therapy almost. Like it really felt like it was part of what I needed and what our community needed in order to start to heal. So that work represents there. That piece is called Liberty and Justice for All. It is a depiction of Lady Liberty. And many people know Lady Liberty. This is an icon. I realized too that both, or all three, Mike, myself, and James also, we all tend to depict this iconography. And the Statue of Liberty is such an icon of America. And an interesting fact too is that she has shackles at her feet that are broken. You know, like we're set to break free, right? This is the land of liberty and justice for all. So that was a piece that I felt very strongly to create, and thankfully I had the support of the community to help me paint. So now I'm just at this point, I am still in that healing process so much as the whole community. I feel, I would say, a very interesting transition, I would say, before is that I felt like I wanted to be very clear that I was an artist and a creator. And I also happen to be woman, and I also happen to be, a person of color. But now I just feel so like this is us. This is our country. This is, we are so much a part of the community as anyone else, and so that level of that, my voice feels a little bit stronger, my vision feels a little bit clearer, and thankfully that's brought me, like, that's where I am currently in my journey, that I just feel a little bit more secure in my skin. I'm fearful for truthfully any person of color, truthfully, because it's just there's a lot of negative energy out there, and there's a lot of hate out there. But I do think that we are in a period of growth, and the time is now to make these things a little bit uncomfortable so that our future feels more comfortable. So, and that's all.
Well, I think we have felt your journey, and I think most of us can't wait to see what you're doing next. This is very exciting, very exciting. Next up, we have James Middleton, who's also known as Boogie. He will present his artwork next. James?
How you guys doing? So I'm an all around creative. I dance. That's how I got the name Boogie. Do photography, videography, all these things. And during COVID, I kind of couldn't do all those things, so I kind of had to get back to the basics of what started where it all started for me. So I kind of went back to drawing, and around the time we couldn't really go anywhere. It was all this stuff happening, and I was just creating what I seen. So this Nipsey piece was a little bit after the time of his death, and I knew what he meant to the community. I knew he meant to a lot of people. So a lot of my work, I just like to capture the essence of who people are and just try to, bring it to life. So the Nipsey was like a big part for like the culture. It was definitely a culture piece, and that's why I definitely felt like I captured him, and just wanted to get back to the details, and more so like, because I used to rush with my work before this, because I just felt like I had to, I need to get it done and all this other stuff. So around COVID, I had nothing but time. So I was just like, I'll spend 2-3 hours on it, and then I'll leave it alone, and then I'll come back and do another 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. And then it got to this thing where it's like, all right, I'm gonna always take my time with whatever I'm creating. So I did both of these pieces, the Nipsey and the Tiana Taylor, because I was definitely listening to a lot of Tiana Taylor music and Nipsey music, and just a whole bunch of different music that was coming out at the time. You could go to the next slide. So these pieces are, like I said, like I like to capture people, who they are, and definitely was listening to a lot of Beyonce and SZA. So they just basically like inspired me, put me in that place where like they gave me the essence, like who they are, and I kind of felt that. So I kind of felt like I should create them or recreate them. So this was, these pieces took like around 200 hours, not even finished, not even close to being finished. But it's just a journey, like a mental journey. And this was before COVID. You go to the next slide. So these pieces are a part of my perception collection. and it had a lot to do with the Black Lives Matter murals and all the stuff going on with the police and justice, all this stuff. So the piece basically it basically tests your knowledge of what's going on. So if you don't know what's going on, you won't understand the piece, but you have to know what's going on because it's everywhere. So these pieces were pretty much created because I want to see what people know. It's testing your knowledge of what's going on and putting it in front of you. But the whole perception of this is people don't see the guy behind the ski mask, but they see the Mickey Mouse. So the Mickey Mouse is supposed to represent like what people are accustomed to and what people are familiar with. So the guy with the ski mask, he could be a killer, he could be all this stuff, but people don't see the guy with the ski mask because they're so familiar with who Mickey Mouse is. And I did the black and white marches, and you can't really tell when it was because all of these black and white, the women's right march and the Black Lives Matter march with the civil rights march was all into one. So it's basically showing us that history is like slowly repeating itself. So that's why you can't really depict on what's going on. So it's basically like testing everybody's knowledge, like we got to make a change and how are we going to do that? So only you would know the answer to the end of the art. You could go to the next slide. I did these pieces for a client. It's basically based off of like media, how media depicts who people are, and I did it based off of Jay-Z versus Nas and how successful they are in the music career and their music careers, and businessmen as well. So it's basically just about like how society sees you and how you can overcome whatever is depicted on who you are. You could go to the next slide. The picture on the left was an empowerment piece based off of I've been seeing a lot of like young Black girls feeling like they weren't pretty and calling themselves ugly. So I kind of took that analogy from like UGLY, that song that little girls used to sing growing up, and kind of made it an empowerment. So you gotta love yourself. It means just that, you know, you gotta love yourself first before you can, you know, face the world. And I picked this hairstyle because I have all these different hairstyles that little Black girls probably had when they were younger. So people could kind of relate to that, like, oh, my mom did my hair like this one time. I showed this to a few women. It was, oh, my mom did my hair like this and I hated it. And I just wanted to connect with that, like that essence of it. It's like a cultural thing, so people can kind of get a little glimpse of what it is. And the piece on the right is a piece that I did for a well-known Harlem rapper named Dave East, and it's a really cool guy. Met him, I gave this to him. This is currently hanging up in his house right now, and it's basically about his life journey. And, you know, we had a few conversations, and I just he inspired me through his music and just all the stuff he was going through, all the stuff he was fighting for as an artist. And I kind of felt like I was him at one point. And then I just created this piece of the past him and him taking care of his daughter and all these things that he was telling me. And I kind of made that into like his own custom life album cover. And that's what I came up with at the end of it. And he loved it, gave it to him at a concert. You could go to the next slide. This is a piece that I did for Taraji. And I gave it to her at a movie premiere. And this was big. This was big. This was really big because my whole life, a lot of people have been like, oh, well, you can't make a career out of art. And I kind of like broke those barriers because this is what I do this is my career. I do art for a living. And I used to work at Domus. I used to work at Chester Addison Domus, and everybody was like, oh, well, you should more so, you know, look into doing this. And they try to always push me out of being who I am. And I was like, I can't not create because this is who I am. Like, this is my life. This is my life path. So this piece definitely changed a lot for me, because when I did this piece, it just proved to everybody that I'm that good, and I can be even better. You know, it was more so like a thing for me where like I didn't believe myself until I kind of got to this point. So this was a bit, and Taraji, she's really nice. Tyler Perry, really nice. My mom definitely helped me with this. She set it up, and definitely gotta prove people wrong, because this definitely put me out there. You could go to the next slide. And this was another piece that I did for a celebrity. I've done a few pieces for celebrities, but this one was like one of my first. Bryson Tiller. I was literally home, like chilling, listening to music, you know, just creating stuff here and there. And then I get a phone call. It's Bryson Tiller's manager. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be in Connecticut. You know, people are telling me like you're a really good artist," and I wanted to present something to him because we're gonna be in Connecticut. And then I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm thinking like, all right, cool. I got like a week, 2 weeks to do this, maybe. I was like, "When you guys gonna come out here?" He's like, tomorrow night." I was like, "Tomorrow night?" I was like, "Okay, yeah, I got you." I literally stopped everything I was doing and did this piece in like 2 hours. And I kid you not, I did it so fast. I was so like hyped to get to this point. I did it so fast. I did 2 others that I created for him. I did 2 others. So I did this piece was for him. He signed it, gave it to him. He signed the other 2. I kept one, and the other one I gave to his manager as a thank you. I have him sign it, and we took pictures and all that stuff. This guy's a really cool dude. And even at this time, I just felt like I literally felt at this time, like, you know, I felt lost. Like, I'm like, why am I even doing this? Why am I even creating art? And I feel like I'm not being seen. And then I get this phone call, and then I'm like, I'm being seen. Like, it was just like God, like, just kind of just like, "Hey, listen, trust me, you know, I'm a guide you." So I this was definitely a big moment for me in like my art career. So I think that's my last slide, right?
Yes, that is your last slide. I think we're all impressed. I'm glad you didn't let anybody deter you from continuing your art. I think we were impressed. 2 hours, 2 hours to do that last one.
Yeah.
That is very, very impressive. And I think, and what the slide we have up, if you want to contact any of the artists, and there will be email going out, because this chat box is blowing up. Everybody's very impressed with the 3 of you and your art, and you're going to get a lot of phone calls. Sorry, text. And we're really, really impressed. Colleen, can you bring down the slide? Thank you very much. And if you have questions for our artists tonight, please put them in the chat box. They're ready and available to answer your questions. But I'm going to start out, Lauren. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's based on something from the film. Ellen Gallagher discussed the life and work of Edmonia Lewis. And those who don't know her, she was a sculptor. She created sculpture, and this is in 1867. She created, right after the Civil War, a sculpture called Forever Free. And she was just very powerful, very powerful. And she had her inspirations. So Lauren, who inspired you in your artistic endeavors?
Thank you. First of all, like, that was just so good. that was just so good. It was so great to just hear from the other panelists about their work. I know some of their work, but it was just great to just hear them more and hear them talk in more detail. So thank you for that as well. I have a lot of sources of inspiration. I'm very fortunate to come from a creative family. So the root of my inspiration comes very much from my immediate circle. My sister is a painter. My dad wanted to be an architect and has created an amazing poster. My mom is a quilter. My daughter is she draws and is an animator. So it's very much like kind of around me all the time. And so I'm very fortunate to just be inspired just by my environment. I would say outside of that immediate environment, there are artists that have inspired me always, and then artists that I've just kind of come to find out recently. Two of the sort of always artists are Frida Kahlo. Many people are very well aware of her work. I love her work as well as her story and what she chose to use art as a self-expression, as again, as some, I often say it's like artist therapy, but as a way of tapping into herself and understanding herself. There are also Gustav Klimt and Hundertwasser. These are Austrian artists that I've also just, since I was in college, was really inspired by. Recently, I have come to know the work of Bissa Butler. Bissa is like, her work is like mind-blowing, and my mom is a quilter too, so there's a lot of overlap there in terms of color and symbolism and depicting Black beauty and Black excellence. So her work has just been crazy inspiring to me just recently. I would say also Carrie James Marshall, for kind of the same reasons, that his work just depicts the story of the Black individual, the beauty, the kind of also just, just the everyday conversation about what it is to be Black in America. I think his work really depicts very well as just color, symbolism. So those are the kind of artists that kind of come top to mind, but, we're also living in an era of, everyone is very much accessible online. And so I am very inspired by my peers, by James and by Mike and by other Connecticut artists. Again, Valerie organized a group of 16 artists last year, and I was like a little kid every time on that Zoom call, like, oh my God, who's that person? And I'm gonna go follow their artwork, and oh my God, what are they doing? And so I have a lot of great inspiration from the contemporary formal artists, but then my community and like my peers, I often reference them as my art family. They inspire me. Members at the Mad Lab, they're always doing stuff. They're always upping their game. My husband is a producer and a videographer and, content creator. Like there's just so much sources of inspiration. So thankfully, I would say, I can tap into history as well as just my immediate peers.
Great, wonderful. Bissa Butler, I am a fan of hers. Those who don't know, fabric artist. Oh my gosh, her work looks like paintings, but it's all out of fabric.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes. So my next question is going to James. James, in the film, they talk about the use of color and materials, and within your work, we've seen you use the use of different types of material. So what inspires you to create the collages that you created? What inspires you to pick the materials that you pick?
With just specifically the collages, I'm more so, I wanted to get real life inspiration, and I wanted to get something that like, I felt like other creatives like kind of created and put it together. And I kind of just wanted to like bring in different sources of creativity and put them together the way I guess I know how. Like, even with my art, I kind of just wanted to go back to like where I started, like the roots of like me just drawing and like getting better at that. And because I used to paint, I do all these things, and I kind of was just falling off and slipping because I felt like I was pushing through it so fast, and it was hitting me so fast. So I was like, yeah, let me like go back to where I started and then kind of work myself back into painting and work myself back into doing more different photography and photo shoots and going back into doing my video stuff and even dancing. Like I just kind of just wanted to like become a better artist in the sense. So I kind of just went back to like the basics of it. And but more so with the collages too, like I got my inspiration from other creatives, and I looked at their work and I see what they were doing, and I kind of made it my own. I made it into what I would do. I was like, oh, I like what this person did, so let me take that aspect of it and kind of warp it into what I would do and kind of show my side of it. It's like telling a story, but it's like this work of art is like telling my side of the story.
Wonderful. So Mike is next. The next question. I know that you work a lot with youth, and you're really invested in that. So tell us a little bit about what you do with the youth and in Stanford and around the area. And this is for Mike.
So background started off, I went to elementary school at Waterside School in Stanford. And my first stint with kids worked as a summer tutor slash assistant teacher with them before I'd gone to college. In college, I used a lot of my, organizations and clubs that I was a part of to do mentorships with a lot of kids in the Hartford community as well. Came back to Stanford post-college and then continued to work at the Stanford Family YMCA as a summer camp counselor and then an after-school counselor and a tutor and then a teacher. And then COVID had hit and I kind of switched to a lot of my artistic skills and then found the Mad Lab. And then with the Mad Lab here, we're working with the middle school right now, the West Rocks Middle School here in Norwalk, and we're doing a photojournalism project with them, and we're bringing them here to the lab to kind of showcase their work later on in the summer. And I've just been with kids literally all my life since I was a kid, basically. I've been around them. I love teaching them, and everything that I do deals with the academics as well as teaching them to control their emotions and behavior with art. It's one of the portions of my bachelor's degree. It's a painting. It's a BFA in painting with a focus on art therapy. So I try to implement a lot of my teachings and a lot of my artistic abilities onto them and just kind of show them the way, like let them know like, hey, you can use art as a way to express yourself. You can use art as a way to communicate. You can use art as a way to just feel okay. And so I'm going to try to continue to work with them as best as possible. It's kind of tough to teach art through a computer screen, but we are working towards that and continuing on.
Thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to Valerie Cooper to see if we have some questions in the chat box that want to ask our artists.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And let me just congratulate all of the artists for such a fabulous presentation. Each time I hear from you, I get to know a little bit more about your artistic careers, and it's just so exciting. So I'm looking in the chat, and I encourage you all to put questions in the chat. I don't see one just yet. So what I'll do is ask a question while others are placing questions there. And the question has to do with the 2021 Black Lives Matter Street Mural Project. So most of you know that we were awarded a grant by the city of Stanford to refurbish the sign. The mural is now not quite a year old, but it's deteriorated and it's in need of touch up. And so Lauren talked about our Zoom meetings that we had weekly leading up to the event. We'll have our first ones. You guys are hearing this for the first time this Sunday, you'll get an invite. But in thinking about year 2, and the letters that you created and what it meant to you to create your letters last year and the feelings you had. You don't have to commit right now, but if you were to come out on Juneteenth, June 19th is the date that we're going to refurbish the sign. What are your thoughts around your letter? Are you going to use the same art and touch it up, or are you going to add something a little bit different to reflect the growth that you've experienced since last year this time, relative to yourselves personally and relative to the country and where the country is? And in any order, I'd like to briefly hear your thoughts from the three of you.
I can go first. Personally, I would like to switch up my idea, switch up the artwork that is on the letter K, that's in front of that crosswalk, so the first K. Switch it up to the point where I want to just create the stencil for the artwork and allow for the community to put their own spin on it. Basically make it a collaborative piece again. Instead of just having them, work on the outline, I want them to work on the inside. I want them to add their own colors, add their own spin on things, because it's not specifically for me, it's for everybody. And I just like the feedback. I liked how people were there and they liked to read. I liked how they enjoyed seeing every letter and seeing all the artists there. And I enjoyed the collective, aspect of it. I liked how everybody was just coming together, listening to the music and just speaking on injustices, but then doing it in a way that it's peaceful, as well as it's as large as it is, being from where on the street that it is. So I just want to be able to let everybody come in and create their own work on my piece.
Okay, thank you for that. Lauren or Boogie, chime in.
I'll go next. I did the V, the letter V, and I'm definitely gonna switch it up a little bit because the first time around I kind of just wanted to get people involved, and I wanted them to feel like they were a part of history, because they are. And so I did the hands up, don't shoot. And then everybody, we painted our hands and we did the handprints, and we had families and we had babies putting their hands down and all this other stuff. So I kind of want to take that same essence of what we did the first time and do it a little bit better. Because I just hearing the people like, thank you so much for doing this. And, it definitely meant a lot. It definitely meant a lot. Even the kids were, oh, this is so dope. I want to be an artist. And it definitely meant a lot. So we're definitely going to take that same aspect, but just, switch it up a little bit.
Take it to the next level. Awesome. And then Lauren, what are your thoughts on Lady Liberty? Will she survive or not?
Yeah, I think the funny thing is I might be, asking the community to help me just repaint her. I feel that, she's such a icon. I've tried to represent her in a way that is not any one nationality, but all nationalities. I think the message is still not necessarily fulfilled. I think it's going to be an ongoing process to ask for the equal freedoms and justices for different nationalities, different genders. There's a whole subcategory of people that are facing injustices. And so, it kind of makes me almost sad that I feel like she needs to be painted again. That's
right.
But I think that also one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about that particular day is when people came and were actually helping to paint, they had their stories. They had their stories of the first time, I came, to the United States, I went to see Lady Liberty, or someone telling me, really detailed history about, the statue itself and the creator. So I think that there's a story there that is still left to be told. I think that it resonated with a lot of the community members. I think that it was something that is very just speaks to a whole nation, and now that we're in the life kind of after COVID, we're still looking to find certain levels of freedoms, whether it's, freedom to leave your house, freedom to choose whether, your freedom of health, religious freedom, health freedoms, so it's all encompassing. And I think as an icon, Lady Liberty, there are so many things about the United States that I feel so privileged to be here for. And then there are so much work that we still have to do. So if this one icon represents that, I think that it just needs to be repainted, refreshed, with the community's hand in it, and really just help to drive home the point that the work is not done yet.
Absolutely. Thank you all for such powerful responses. And for those who don't know, it may have been mentioned earlier, but we are having another community event on Juneteenth, which is Saturday, June 19th, in front of the Ferguson. So stay tuned for more about that. Looks like we have a few questions in the chat now. Have a question that is wondering, where can people find your work for purchase? Do you show in art galleries, websites, and do you have any upcoming shows? And what you can do is you're thinking about answering that is put a website in the chat. I know that we had a slide earlier, but you can never share that website too much. And if you want to talk a little bit about your upcoming exhibitions, feel free to.
I can drop my Instagram. That's the best place to reach me in terms of, artistic questions. I do have a solo show coming up in August here at the Mad Lab. No promos or anything for that just yet, because I don't know exactly how the world will be situated in terms of mask mandates and everything like that. So I want it to be a very enjoyable / very inclusive show. So I'm still working on that, but anything Instagram wise, I'll always, respond and contact you and let you know about purchases and everything like that.
Awesome. And what about you, Boogie? What's on your agenda?
You can definitely reach me at my Instagram. I think it was dropped in the chat. It's Boogie Got Art on Instagram. Because I do a lot of commissions. I've been doing a lot of commissions lately. Just portraits for people, loved ones, Mother's Day, stuff like that. But as of right now, work is I'm getting ready for a show that I was supposed to have last year, but COVID. So we kind of pushed it back, and we're going to make it better. Hopefully my panelists will join me with that show. For sure, I definitely have a lot of people coming, and we're just rebranding right now, just getting everything ready for the big boom. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And if you guys have any questions about anything, you feel free to message me on Instagram or Facebook. James Middleton or LJ Middleton on Facebook.
Okay, and Lauren, I see you have put your Instagram handle in the chat as well as your website. So as we're bringing this fabulous program to a close, Diane, I'm getting messages saying we just need to end by 8:30, but Diane says we have room for one more question. So there's a question from Mike Twitty, and it's to any of the artists. He wants to know, at some point in your early career, you decided to take the art, to move it from a hobby and take it to the next level, to monetize what you're doing. At what point did you know you were ready to make money? Like briefly, if you can just talk a little bit about how you knew the transition was right to, cross over. Thanks for that question, Mike.
Well, I'll jump in here. My particular situation is a little different in that I was, I started my business a little early on. I wasn't necessarily just, painting and drawing and putting that out as my source of income, but I was interested in being a creator. I was very passionate, very interested in using art as a medium for my livelihood, art as a career, identifying it as my as a passion. So very early on, that was my guiding force. I would say more recently, we are now in this digital realm, so and an international realm. So I have family, friends, clients, people that I'm meeting now through social media, thankfully, who are interested in the works, but they can't physically come to a show. So making the work available online. So through my website, you can purchase prints and different art pieces. But then, there is this whole trajectory of digital art and getting your work seen in a platform geared towards like NFT purchase and this whole realm that I'm just starting to get into. And so, we're on a really unique path, I would say, where it's not necessarily the initial story was that you went to a gallery, a brick and mortar location, and you saw a piece of work and you took it off the wall and you brought it home. Now you're trying to connect with someone across seas, and how do you connect with that person? So I would definitely encourage anyone who is an art maker to think about what their presence is like online. I have certain trepidations about putting myself out there, so I find myself being super private, but then like kind of teetering in this world of like sharing and keeping. But we're living in an internet world generation. So as long as your work is approachable online, I think that is the way to connect with the masses.
Well, thank you all. I'd like to thank you all for that fabulous round of questions. Thank you, audience. Thank you, artists. I'm going to turn it back over now to Diane Jellorette, who will bring closing remarks. Thanks again.
Thank you again for everybody to coming out. And I said, I think this was enjoyable to everybody. And we got to know about some up and coming artists in our next gen. Kudos to all of you. I am going to turn this back over to Elizabeth on the library to close us out.
Thank you, Diane, Ken, Valerie, and all the artists for really sharing your artwork, your inspiration, and for really just inspiring us tonight, I think, to really reach for a higher level of understanding and appreciation of art. So thank you for that. I did share the slide earlier, which is our save the date for the Juneteenth Black Lives Street Mural Refreshing Repainting Day and Black Music History Month. We will be following up with everybody that attended and participated and registered with the artist's social media information, as well as the flyer that will tell you. And thank you again for being here. And we are going to have the same program on YouTube. So send you all those details. So looking forward to doing this again and seeing all of you on June 19th. So thank you and have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.